Welcome back to the Behind the Bell podcast. I'm your host, Ty Johnson, and we have a woman with us today whose picture should be in a definition of self-starter and hard worker. We have Miss Tanisha Gardner.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. How are we feeling today?
Great, excited to be behind the bill.
Great. So we're going to jump into it. So you have been in the education field for a while. What enticed you to get into this?
If I'm speaking transparently, there was nothing that really enticed me, but it was just probably a moment that solidified that this was purpose for me. Education wasn't something that I had grown up saying. I wanted to be a teacher or an educator. I actually just took a job. We had just had our third child, and the opportunity came for me to work at my children's private school. And in doing so, I got the opportunity to really just see all that education offered, not just in the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. And so after a couple of different positions in education, and then eventually being called to where I am today, it was just really the Lord solidifying that it was purpose for me.
Okay, I know before we started this interview, you talked a little bit about how like charter schools, private schools, kind of where has your career guided you? What are the different environments that you've had the opportunity to work in?
Yeah, most definitely. So I've done the charter sector, I've been in the public sector, and now in the private sector. During my time in the charter sector is where I really got to see education done in various facets. I learned a lot about education. My job at that time, in my role, as an admin team member, was that I would actually place our students in different high schools all over the world. And so with that, I just really got to see education done so differently from the independent sector to your non-traditional to classical schools, all of that. And so in that, it was just really an eye opener for me to know that education does not look the same. Common Core is truly not the foundation of how an education program is going to run, but it really truly is the visionaries behind that.
And so, speaking about education, I know you're very huge on it. And so, what do you say to the people, and specifically talking about college at this point? As I know you're trying to get your students and the people that you're educating onto college, onto further their education. What do you say to the people that believe that college is a scam?
Yeah. Well, let me first say that I get it. I understand it, right? Higher ed has changed in so many ways. But I once heard that, an individual say that when you get your education, when you get a degree, not honorary, but the very one that you've earned yourself, it's one of the few things that individuals can take away from you. So it adds the value to you. It's your credibility in so many ways. Now, when you get to the part of investment, right, and the money and all of that, that could be looked at in so many different ways. What does that career look like coming outside once you've completed, your discipline? And I think in that's where it becomes the challenge, where, you go in with such high hopes and big expectations. And when that doesn't always come through, we're now left disappointed. And so, is it a scam? No. But is it certainly an investment that you should make? At some level, yes. And the reason why I say that is because our world is forever changing. Qualifications, what individuals are looking for. But at the end of the day, knowledge is priceless. And so when you look at it that way, when you look at the knowledge that you're going to gain, when you look at how you're going to up your value and be a step above, then you really can't put a price tag on that. And so while again, the investment piece is certainly debatable, right? The cost of education I truly believe that education should be free. It should be made available to everyone. It should not be something that is only for the select few because of maybe the cost of it and things like that. But if you're wanting the knowledge, if you're wanting to be empowered, if you're wanting to add the value to yourself, then that is priceless.
And I 100% agree. And one thing I would add to that too is the accountability piece. Is that you have to be held accountable. You need to do the research behind whatever field you want to get into. The frustrations that I have, and specifically when it comes to sports, I have students that I work with in the past, and they get into college from sports. And then after that, while in college, they just want to pursue whatever degree is easiest so that they can stay around sports. And when I ask them the question of what made you choose this field, oh well, I love the game so much I just want to stay around it. But at the end of the day, that ball is going to stop being thrown. It's going to stop bouncing.
For sure.
That sport is going to stop. What are you going to do to create a sustainable living for you and your family?
Right.
So that forward thinking, I think, is so huge.
Yeah.
And so I know you said education might not entice you, but I know the entrepreneurial life enticed
For
you.
sure. Yeah.
What pulled you in? What got you to this point?
Well, even just touching back on your initial statement, right? When we go into school, we just kind of go in there just wanting to maintain, right? And when you do things like that, you miss out on so much in life. But I also have to look at our education system to say, are we really doing a good job in helping our young people truly know what it is that they want to do? What are their gifts? What are their talents? Are we putting certain programs in place? Are we making certain opportunities available for them to even really discover and explore what it is that they might truly want to do? And so then when you register, right, you look at this long list of things and you just kind of maybe pick and choose like, oh, maybe I'll do that then. It sounds interesting. It sounds good. It sounds like I could do it. But we really haven't put you in that setting to really even decipher if that's what you want.
Yeah, the exposure.
Yeah, the exposure of it. I think for me, someone being a non-traditional student didn't have a lot of the opportunities and experiences that some of my friends had. And now later in life, having just gaining some of those opportunities is really what kind of repositioned me to say, this could be something that I could do and do well. When I got into education, I knew after a short period of time, it wasn't the classroom that I wanted to be in, but it was empowering the students. And how could I do that? And so I really had to do a lot of self-discovery, even in my adult years, to say, what type of individual am I? What do I love to do? What brings me joy? What adds to my passion to want to help young people? And then when I got the opportunity to be a part of an admin team and really have that capacity to do quite a bit, that's when I really discovered and said, okay, I do want to be in education, because to be honest, growing up, education was not the most positive experience for me. And so years ago, if someone would have said, you're going to end up in education, I would have fought them tooth and nail and said, absolutely not.
Okay. And so I do want to go back and preface the last question that I gave, because I didn't do my service to you by stating that this woman right here owns her own school, and so all this merch that we see here is hers and is a branding of her school. And so she took on this initial journey of not even want to be in education, but now instead of at a micro level, hands on with the kids, which you still are, but a more macro level, top down. How have you noticed that you've been able to change the students' lives, or have you more in this position than before?
I would say that this position definitely gives me a broader capacity on how that change happens. But I believe in every role that I've taken on, I've changed lives. From when I was in the classroom and I taught, and I would find different ways to help a student feel comfortable, whether they were having to give a verbal presentation, telling them to put the paperclip in their hand as it would calm their nerves, sitting down with a single mom, helping to get her son, set up for the SATs and, go on to his journey into our armed forces and seeing where he is today, whether it's confidence, whether it's a college acceptance, whether it's just the student, that is now assured that they can learn and learn well. I feel like every role has afforded me the opportunity to just really, make impact.
And so with this jump, it becomes a lot more, not a burden, I don't want to use that word, but a lot more responsibility.
For sure.
And which comes a lot more stress. And so with making that jump, what has been your strategy to make sure that you stay sane?
Yeah, so and that is something that I've had to learn, because that's the part people don't tell you, right? You go into something and it's exciting and it has the honeymoon stage and it's all great and and then you hit this part and it's like, wow, okay, they didn't tell me that, being in the private sector, funding is a lot of networking. It's private funding. It's funding from different organizations and individuals, and it's learning what spaces to be in. And so that can be a challenge. And I can say that it has been in this role where I've even learned more about mental health.
Okay.
And the importance of mental health, right?
Sure.
Because of the stress that you carry. And so I have certainly, obtained a therapist. I've certainly, brought in individuals around me more closely for accountability to say, hey, what did this week look like? How are you doing with this? You have this big event coming up. How are you carrying that? And then also my faith. It's a big part for me, and being able to find that balance and always bringing it back to this is a purpose and not a job. Sure. And when you understand that it's a purpose, you will maneuver it differently.
For sure. And I hear a lot of connections being made in there. How important is networking in this role?
It's huge. It's huge. And it's that for several reasons. Awareness, right? Of the academy, whether it's networking for potential families, whether it's networking for potential partners, donors, networking is huge. And then it's also to be able to provide that voice, right, of the impact that's being made, But networking, even in that, has to be a balance because what you don't want it to do is turn into sales, which it could.
100%.
And so now you're just out here trying to get a sale or trying to get a donation or, things like that. No, you definitely want the impact. But the networking is also good because it has allowed me to expand the programming within the academy far beyond what I probably could have done just on my own and bring in certain levels of partnerships that is really helping to change the lives of my scholars.
For sure. And so to get deeper into what your school actually entails. So is when you took it over, this was a co-ed school.
Yes.
It is now an all-girls school. And there is a special line, and not even a line, a special value that you all carry. And it's Psalms 46:5. God is within her, she will not fall. And in the NIV translation. What does that all mean for you?
So that our school scripture is something that we all carry from the top on down. I carry that. When you asked about, the balance and, the stress management and all of that, that is something that I need to keep in front of me every single day. Understanding that God knew the strength that I had when he called me to this, but truly it is ultimately his spirit in me that is going to, help to drive this mission. And so it also helps to create our culture here. We have a sisterhood here. And so even our scholars, they carry that scripture. You'll find that some of our scholars have it written on their desk. There's little things that we have. For instance, I have this bracelet. And when I don't have it on, I do feel just empty, because it is our school scripture. And when we transitioned over to all girls, all scholars at that time got this bracelet. It has the scripture on it with the scripture reference, to it. And it is just a reminder that we are doing this, you're doing this. But God is within in you, so you can do this. And so I think it's important, year after year, schools, they will pick the theme for the year, and we do some of that from time to time. But I also feel the importance of there's got to be a foundation of some type that you stand on. And this is our foundation.
For sure. And I just want to tell you all, this lady is very intentional. And so with this bracelet, she actually bossed me around and told me I usually sit on that side when I do interviews. She told me I had to sit on this side because she wanted to show the brand. And with that, in just you speaking, if the audience didn't pick up on it, you use the word scholars instead of students. We're typically used to using students. Why do you intentionally use the word scholars?
Because they are that. They are that. And I truly believe that, you know, what you are called is what you're going to stand up to. It is going to be the posture that you carry. And so when we call them scholars, they answer to that. If you probably were to call them students, they probably wouldn't even respond because it is in our culture that they are scholars. And they're not scholars just from an academia standpoint. They're scholars because that is who the Lord has called them to be. That's a part of their life, right? And so it's very intentional. It is truly a part of the identity that they already have in the Lord. But it's also us connecting and really, being intentional about making sure that they know how we as administrators and teachers, how we see them, how we value them, and for them to really to carry that.
For sure. And so we talk about the team and we talk about the administrators. What does your current student body look like? What does your staff look like? Can you take us little bit deeper into the school?
So we are all girls, as you said. We did transition over into that. We serve urban communities. Some of those communities are marginalized communities. And so the majority of our student population is Black and brown. We do not discriminate because we do have the heart and the intentions to serve girls who are wanting something different. And so our scholars are girls who have decided and made the choice to say, I want something different. I want to come out of the traditional school setting. I don't need the big facility. It's interesting because people ask us, do we have sports? And we don't. And it's not because we can't have them, but really our scholars prefer things that stimulate them and stimulate the mind. And so we run a very robust STEAM program. And so our girls are truly learning, all about the scientific world, all about the engineering world, all about the design world. In that. And what sets us aside and apart from others is that we are uniquely designed in a sense that we offer one-to-one education. And we do that in the sense of we don't put more than 10 in a classroom. We're also preventative in a sense that we do multi-grades as well. So for my scholar who is maybe in 5th grade but is ready for that 6th grade content, she can get that and doesn't have to wait till 6th grade. But maybe for the 6th grader who needed some gaps closed, we can close those gaps, but still keep her at grade level.
That's great because I think sometimes students would, which sounds kind of weird, but scholars will be in class and in the school I work in, they would just kind of they'd be bored. And so they'll stop doing work. That's when they start clowning around, idle hands.
For sure.
And so they just get to doing whatever. And so I think it's really great that you can, challenge these kids, at students, scholars, in every facet of their academia career.
Yeah. And when you say about, the impact and the change that we see it on a daily basis here. 44% of our scholars are performing above grade level by 2 years. We see that. But aside from test scores, right, because we're not an academy that just, is all about test scores. We're all about personal development. And so, every year we will get at least one scholar where the mom is coming in and she's like, she's really quiet, she's very timid, you're not. And then by the end of first semester, she's the scholar leading in the front because we provided a platform for her to really grow and develop and discover who she is. And so, again, uniquely designed in a sense of we now understand how girls learn. We now understand how to educate and empower young girls. We now understand truly on even how to help them to use their voice as strong, upcoming women. But more importantly, women of color, as we can face certain, prejudices, right? And certain things about us as women of color because our voice. And so they understand that, yes, you want people to hear what you're saying, but it is how you're saying it because you want the impact of your message.
And that's great. And you're really preparing them for the future, and it's multifaceted, which is fantastic. And then looking back at the academia side, something that you didn't even mention, which I think is extremely phenomenal, you're sending students, scholars, to college already.
We are. We are. So intentionally, when we thought about our high school program, we did not want to be like another high school program. We wanted to, again, continue to set ourselves apart. And so we had the opportunity to sit down with our education partner, Judson University, and we developed this program. And it was approved by the Illinois College Board and all of that, where in their junior year, scholars are actually put into college down at Judson University. And so they will then complete their high school education and also graduate at the end of their senior year with an AA in general studies. That was done very intentionally. One, to give them a step up, right? Two, to again add to their value and affirm who they already are and what's already in them to do.
That is amazing. And there's different schools that do something where it's dual credit, so they can take class within their own building, get dual credit. But actually going to the college campus and being able to graduate with associates, that is next level. And so, and talking about this, all the different impacts that you're having, and being so intentional with going back to that stress thing, or just your overall desire for your future. Have you ever thought about stepping away and maybe going back to a 9 to 5? Or I know another thing that you're very intentional with, or wanting to pursue, is motivational speaking, and then professional development as well. Have you? What are your thoughts with that, and how you maneuver in going forward?
I don't know if it's ever been a stepping away as much as it is when the assignment is over. And I think when you get to that point of when that assignment becomes to the gets to the place where it's going to conclude, you're not really sure how that's going to look. And I say that just because, again, being so intentional about making sure that I'm fulfilling purpose, right? Even on my hardest days, there's never been a time where I have not enjoyed what I do. I have not stopped loving who I'm serving, and just understanding that it's all a part of, it's all that comes with it. Being in the not-for-profit sector, it's very different. You're really having to homegrown, if you will, definitely with finances, things of that sort. The motivational speaking and professional development, that is really just a part of my entrepreneurial culture. Honestly, it's something that I was doing prior to even coming to the academy, and now starting the all girls academy. And believe it or not, it's woven into even what I do now. I go out now and I speak to women, to young girls, to organizations, and that has come through networking. And again, it helps to give me a platform of awareness for the academy. And so what will the future hold? I don't know. It could be my career 2.0,
Okay.
and I'll be ready for it. But For now, for me, it is truly when the assignment is done. And I don't think that that's going to be tagged by a certain amount of scholars that graduate or after a certain amount of years. I think we are in such a time in today's world where we know and understand that anything can expire. I think the COVID pandemic,
I'm gonna say COVID.
certainly showed us that. And so it just really is when the time is up, when the mission has been concluded. But I do understand and I know that that mission is not based on numbers.
Even though the mission is still going on, you have an impressive track record. And in that, just in my endeavors, I know that that's very hard to do without a good support system. And so you're a mother of three, four, and then you are a grandmother of two little furry ones.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about your family makeup?
Yes, for sure. Yes, so I've been married to probably one of the most supportive men I've ever met, my husband, Tori. And Tori and I have been married for 21 years. And it has really been in my marriage that I've gained a lot of confidence, and he's helped to really affirm what was in me. And then having children during different stages of life. I had my daughter, whom you know very well, and so I had her, and I actually had her as a single mom. And so, but I knew even as a single mom, I still wanted something different. I wanted a different pathway, and I definitely wanted a different track record for her. And so we always say that each child has grown up in different stages of our marriage, right? Our oldest daughter, she grew up in the struggle, and so it was just a lot of just maintaining and trying to get from day to day. Our second child, who's our oldest son, he grew up in the sacrifice, and so he has really seen us sacrifice on so many different levels in so many different ways, not just financially, but in our service, in putting our own will and desires aside for the good of others. And then we have the youngest, who we say is growing up in the blessing, where, it's not so much, it's not so much of a struggle. We're not sacrificing a whole lot. We still are, but now we're doing it as a team. But I would tell you just, and then even watching, our daughter now have her own family, and seeing all that you guys are building and doing and accomplishing yourselves, and being very careful, and intentional even in the decisions that you are making to also help to leave a generational wealth. Sure. And so that's been encouraging, just to get that, that support, that wraparound care. Again, we're a small school, small community, not for profit. And so what may seem like, very little to to another organization, it's huge to us. And so the fact that my husband can come in and maybe fix something or, help to add to something. My boys for years, and a lot of people don't know this, but for years, every school year, they would come in and help my teachers get ready for the school year. They would help to rearrange their rooms. They would get their computers together. They would get the scholars' Chromebooks together. And they were just to help. My oldest son worked for our summer camp for years. And so when I first came on, we sat down as a family and said, could we do this as a family? This wasn't just the Tanisha show. This wasn't just something that I was going to do, but can we do it as a family? And we all agreed to that. And it has been hard. It has certainly been hard. At the beginning, I worked a lot of hours. I have discovered that I can push to 3 a.m. It is not my desire to do it, but I certainly can push to that. But what I've never done is sacrifice being there for my kids. I'm at every game. I'm at every award. I'm at every parent, whatever, very intentional to where this cannot take from them. And so they've helped in that of keeping me on track. Like, hey, Mom, don't forget we got this. Hey, Mom, don't forget we got that. But I show up because if I can't show up for mine, then I can't show up for anybody else's.
For sure, 100%. And so, Mr. Gardner, I didn't forget about you. The next question is dedicated just for you. So, to give a little context, you're my mother-in-law.
Yes.
So, In that I've learned a lot from your husband, especially when in terms of being handy. He came by and helped me a lot with the house and what have you. But more specifically, I want to get into, as you stated earlier, you have a blended family. And so, can you speak to how it was living in that environment, and how has your husband been so influential and um, helped you so much, and still helping you grow through this all?
For sure. Blended families, they can be beautiful. And I think, but it takes work, you know, it takes a lot of intentionality. And I use that word a lot because it's key and it's needed. But, you know, even when we first met, the very first phone call, he was like, you and your daughter. He was very intentional about that. And so, you know, but then the other piece of it, what is key, and I would tell any man, is that when you are secure in who you are, you will lead with any strong woman. But the security is key. He's never been insecure in this marriage. He's never not wanted me to accomplish something because how it was going to make him feel. He has showed up for every event, every occasion, you know, in that. And I also would say, though, but along the way, I think seeing my journey and being a part of my journey has also motivated him to now want to step into leadership roles and have an impact at a different level. So it truly is that iron sharpening iron and strengthen one another.
And I agree with that because he's very influential, and he's a very quiet guy.
Very
Doesn't really speak too much.
reserved.
Yeah, he keeps to himself unless you start talking to him. But he I have seen him transform too in the conversations that we had. Um, he shows up like whenever he's needed. I know. Remember, just the other day we were asked, "Oh, do I want anything from the store?" "Oh, I know you like that milk. Let me go grab that." And this man was sitting down on the couch just chilling, but just popped up to go do whatever he's needed, whatever needs to be done. He's going to do it, and that's something that I've took for myself and started to embody myself with me. Not even knowing my dad, if that man was walking today, I would know who he was, and to see how he operates, to see how he's willing to just get up and do whatever has been very influential in my life. And I know maybe you can speak to a little bit too how he's helped mold your sons.
Yeah, yeah. He is one, he don't like any drama. He doesn't. He don't like no drama, no chaos, anything. So I think, a big part of his heart is how do we just have peace, right? How do we live in harmony? Now that could be good, bad, and different at times. But with our boys, I think he's been a great model in a sense of you take care of your home. And part of your home is your wife. Knowing what her needs are, understanding what her needs are, and then helping to meet those needs. The other part of is, I would say we have a very traditional marriage, in a sense of who's doing what, but at the same time, we will both jump in together and do what's needed, right? In that sense of things, they're going to see him walk his faith out. They're going to, really see him love the Lord and try to lead from, a man of faith, building his family on Christian values.
And speaking of those Christian values, how have you all jointly, and but then also as a complete family, how have you allowed your spirituality to dictate how you navigate through this thing called life?
Prayer, and I would say, ministries that we have been a part of, he said this at one time. He said, the changes that we've gone through in our marriage, has the different ministries at that time has helped us to maneuver those changes, right? And then just we are, even though he's very much an introvert, and doesn't have to be around people all the time. I do. I love people. I love community. Like, where's the next thing happening? But just because I love to discover who people are. But he is one to where it does, again, he can take it or leave it, but we've been intentional about being a part of, faith-based communities, making sure that our children are actually growing up in the Lord. They know who he is. They know who he is outside of us. Our prayer is that they've established their own prayer life, their own relationship with the Lord. Our youngest just turned 14. And so now his walk of faith is his own. It is not by me and my husband, and we hope that we have done well in a sense of just creating or building that foundation, right? And modeling as best as we can, through life and marriage of, faith over everything, faith first. And so it really just has been, us saying, okay, we need prayer partners over here. We need a prayer group over here. Me probably more so than him in the sense of what my prayer circle looked like or my faith-based community. Because again, he's the introvert, right? But, he's never been against, making sure that we have good, people of faith around us.
For sure. And I think that's very neat, especially in this world. We definitely need to embody and be with God and try to align our lives more with that. And I want to I want to go backtrack a little bit, just about the school itself, but then also the schools that your kids have went to have been faith based schools. Even your college, the college that your son goes to now is faith based. Was that intentional, or is it just how things panned out?
Very intentional.
Okay.
Very intentional. We, from the beginning, we wanted a faith-based education for our children. Both him and I, he and I we're public, we're products of public school, and our lives have turned out great. And so it's not a knock to any other sector, but it was just something that we wanted. We strongly believe and stand on that, if you're going to walk this life of faith, walk it out in every area of your life. In education, even on your job. And people might say, well, how? Well, what is the culture like there? Is it a toxic culture? Is it but again, it's kind of like, being a part of those situations and in certain, spaces, that's going to help you to continue to grow in that. And so, our children are able to really see, they have more of a biblical worldview. And that is something that we wanted them to have. Now, there's the myths out there, right? Like private school kids, they are, they're sheltered. They're never going to experience anything. Sure. With all that's going on in our world, how will you not experience it? Yeah. It's not like you never walk outside your house. It's not like you're never going to come in contact. There's such a benefit there because I believe that when you have grown up in that, you love a little bit differently. Sure. You have a little bit more patience. You have a little bit more understanding, but hopefully you also have a lot more of gratefulness about you, understanding that this isn't the path for everybody.
For sure, for sure. And so now I want to move into a segment of the interview called Top Three. And so Top Three is just essentially three questions that we're going to go through. And I want you to expound as much or as little as you feel like you need to. Yeah, we get right into it.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure. Let's go.
So the first one is, you can speak right to the audience if you want. What is some advice that you would give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
I would tell you that you're already enough. And I say that because in the entrepreneurial world, it gets very competitive. And if you don't keep the narrow vision where you are not looking to the left or to the right, but you truly keep your eyes on how we say the prize, right? And stay true to the mission, you are going to soar and you're going to soar well. I would also tell you to make sure that you have truly defined what success is for you, because it's not the numbers, it's not the money, but it is truly what you have put into it and what you will walk away from after you're done with it. A lot of people think that legacy is brick and mortar. It is something that, it's an experiment that you've done or a product that you've created. but legacy will be your words. Legacy will be your actions because it's all tied to your character. People will not always remember what you say, but they will remember how you feel about them. People need to know that they can count on you, that your word is true, that you're solid, that they know what they're going to get from you. And so when you decide I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to run my own business, and I can understand the other reasons for that, right? Some of us, we just do better running our own. And and it is for us to lead in our own right. But at the end of the day, you already are who you aspire to be. That's already in you. And so it's really just about you doing some self discovery and pulling that out and understanding that your success is not determined by the money or by the numbers. Because I've learned in this is that the cash will spend, right? And there's going to be times where there's an ebb and flow in that, and that's going to go up and down. The scholars will come and go. But are you still going to remain true to your own vision and the mission that you've set out to do?
Remain true. That's some gems right there. Very good gems. If your life was an autobiography, what would the title of it be?
Really good question.
Yeah, make you think a little bit.
Misdiagnosed.
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 Okay.
And the reason why I picked that topic is because throughout my life, I have been just misunderstood. People have misinterpreted things that I've said. And I have also just traveled through some things, personally and medically, where misdiagnosis has been on the table. I feel like even with my own personal life, just coming from a very, challenging, dysfunctional home, and just the upbringing probably wasn't the ideal. And even in that, just being misdiagnosed from that. We as a world and as a society, we will judge, individuals one another by their upbringing, by, what they've accomplished or hasn't accomplished, things like that. But misdiagnosed.
Okay.
Don't take that though.
That was deep. That was deep. I expect nothing less from you, though. And the last question that we have is, how do you cope with uncertainties in life?
I'll be honest, it looks different in every season. It is. It has. Probably my most recent season has been my toughest. But I stand on the hope of that I'm at the brink, right, of it to where things are really going to fall like they need to fall, But it looks different in every season. I have learned from someone who has had to always operate in survival mode, just from what, certain aspects of my childhood, what that has looked like. And just having to experience certain things throughout life, even in our marriage, right? That's going to look different. But most recently, in a medical scare that I had was be human. Be human. Let your tears flow. Let your emotions be there. Be human. People don't always need to see the superwoman. People don't always need to see the boss lady. People don't always need to, I can't always be the strong friend. But I do need to be human. I do need to feel what's in me. I do need to own where I'm at in that moment. And there's times where I've went through, self-hate. There's times where, I've experienced just questioning everything. Because again, going back to at that time what I thought success should look like, or, putting things on my timing and not the Lord's timing. So thinking that I'm behind, but He's a redeeming God. And so I'm not behind, I'm right on track. And just understanding that it's going to look very different than everyone else's. And I'm glad for that today.
Once again, another gem. Being human. I think that that's so impactful because for two reasons. One, for your mental, emotional, and physical being, it's great to just realize that you are human. You can't embrace, you can't take on, you can't carry everything. But two, that's more authentic. People attract to that more. you will experience more success in just being human and being who you are. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
This was a fantastic interview.
Thank you for having
A
me.
lot of gems were
Loved
dropped.
it.
Uh, Before we leave, though, is there, outside of all of the great information you already gave, is there any lasting words that you would like to give to the community?
I think I would say to, my colleagues in education is a tough job. And at times it can be thankless. But if you are in this for the right reason, then you are going to change lives. And we change lives, good, bad, or indifferent. We're going to make an impact. Education has changed so much. We've experienced so much and how it's being facilitated, how it's being delivered, the stress that comes with it, the lack of support in so many areas, the ungratefulness that can come at times, right? Whether it be from, from students, from parents. But I just want to say that without you, they couldn't do what they're doing. So please know that. And please know that the seed that you've invested in them, even in kindergarten, will grow. The seed that you put into them, maybe you've only had them a month, or maybe this will be the only year that you have them in your classroom. I will tell you what I tell my staff. The task cannot be more important than the impact. And so if you get up every day to just teach, then that's what it will always be. If you get up every day to just lead a building and run a staff, then that's what it's going to always be. But if you get up every single day determined that you're going to change a life and that you want to make true impact, then that's what it's going to be. Because that task can never, ever be more than important than that life, which is the impact.
Gem after gem after gem. um, there are two more questions I have before we conclude. A little more light spirited, but when it comes to, because I like to get stuff for the locals as well. In your local community, in the Gurney, Wadsworth, Waukegan area, what are some of the things that you like to do, either personally or as a family? Where are some of the hidden places or some of the places that you and your family like to frequent?
So our family, as we're big on restaurants and just hanging out. We're big on being a part of the community, though, just serving in whatever capacity that we can. You asked about, my kids earlier and what their upbringing has been like. And while they were always brought up in faith-based, schools and things of that sort, but we've been very intentional to make sure we also expose them to areas and individuals and things that is out of their norm. And so wherever we can kind of get in and fit in, type of deal. I am truly a kid at heart. And so my scholars will tell you at a recess, we're all on our skates. I got my skates underneath my desk. And so when we are out for recess, I'm on my skates. When we're, in because of the weather, we're upstairs in the gym on our skates. I also teach my scholars how to jump double dutch. It's a part of my childhood. Like, I love it, but I want them to know that side of Mrs. Gardner. I want them to know that I'm human. And that I think, our communities over the years have gotten a lot of slack, right? And just because of things that have happened within our community, but they're still good here. They're still good in the urban cities of Lake County. But in that, we have to fight for it. We have to dig that out. And that's going to start with kindness. That's going to start with showing up. That's going to start with stop leaving your communities and go back and give back. But there's a lot of good here. I've been fortunate to grow up, to my childhood is to start in North Chicago and then also end in Gurney. But we've lived in Zion. So we've been all over, Lake County, to where I feel grateful that my family and we've had our hands in so many different things, from just our neighborhood events to also, entering into the political circles. Very intentional to have a voice in that. So yeah, there's definitely good here.
That's great. That's great. And I agree. I agree. In my years being able to be around, I definitely experienced a lot of good with you all as well. Last question I have for you is, in this treacherous mission that you're embarking on, how can we support you?
I always tell people just the awareness of the academy. Letting people know that Affirmed Leadership Christian Academy is an academy where we empower the next generation of women leaders. And we do that through innovative education, real world experiences, and creative culture. We're totally different than a lot of the education institutions that you are going to come in contact with. Also, the other side of it is the funding side. We are always looking to partner with individuals who are looking to invest in the futures of young girls, who's looking to invest in education, because you also know and understand that education is life-changing. The other part of that is that we love, love, love to partner with individuals to do some volunteerism. And so if you have a skill, a talent that you would like to come in and share with our scholars, we would love that. Men and women, let me just say that, because a lot of times with the all girls culture,
It has to be all women everywhere.
we're not just this overly dominant female powered culture, to where no, we've had men on our staff, we have men come in and they teach different business classes, things of that sort. And so we welcome individuals of all ages. Maybe you're retired, but you're not ready to stop doing or giving back. We would love to partner with you. But I think probably our most important ask is keep us in prayer. Pray for our academy. Pray for our scholars. Pray for our staff who work so hard to truly make sure that we are impacting lives. Pray for our families. That is the biggest gift that you could give us.
Great. And one last thing, just so it's very clear, name of your school, how can we find you, how can we give, how can we...
So, Affirmed Leadership Christian Academy, we are located in Waukegan, Illinois. Our website is www.alcagirls.org. On our website, you can find a lot more information about us. You can also find the link if you want to give. You could do that there. Probably our biggest following is on all of our social media platforms. So you can definitely follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn as well.
Got it. Thank you for the phenomenal interview.
Thank you for having me. I mean, let me just say, so proud of you, Tyler.
Thank you.
So proud of you. So proud of seeing you walk this path and really just go after what it is that you desire and you love. And I know you love young people. When you got into social work, you did it because you love young people. And so I first just want to thank you for doing that, and thank you for bringing it to the education platform, because it's needed. Thank you for being a man of color who is representing on so many levels. You love people so well. And so thank you for that.
I appreciate you. I don't know if you remember or not, but you actually tried to get me into this field a little while ago. Started out in charter school. You actually sent me to it was like a workshop in some school. I think it was in Chicago or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was a while ago, but yeah, you've been one of those ones that have been pushing me to break into this space for a while now, and then I finally was able, Lord willing, was given the opportunity to get into it. So just thank you for being that initial push as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for giving us a platform with Behind the Veil. I am so excited for this. I'm excited for people to hear from so many of us that are in academia and what that truly looks like. Thank you for this. Thank you for providing the voice.
No problem. I hope it creates the impact that I'm looking at.
For sure it will.
All right. Thank you so much for the interview.
You're welcome.
And
thank you.
I hope you guys enjoyed this session of Behind the Bell. Catch you on the next one.